We turn now to a young child still suffering from the trauma she endured while at an unlicensed daycare last year in Castle Rock. Her parents say their daughter has PTSD and now sees a counselor regularly to try to help her cope. This after doctors said she was most likely strangled while at daycare.
Kaylen Grimm pleaded guilty to child abuse this morning, negligently causing injury to the young girl. 9 News reporter Courtney Yoon joins us now. And Courtney, the child's parents say even though there is this guilty plea, the sentence isn't enough.
Yeah, Kim, that's right. If this case went to trial and Kaylen Grimm was found guilty, her maximum sentence would have been 6 months behind bars. She didn't even get that today and likely won't serve time if she doesn't violate her probation. The Prusak family says her punishment is not enough and more needs to be done to protect kids in Colorado.
She was recommended to me.
Jennifer Prusak thought she could trust Kaylen Grimm with her children.
The day that I came to pick her up is when I noticed the markings on her face.
In January 2022, Prusak says she saw a handprint across her 3-year-old daughter's face, as well as a thumbprint on her neck. She says an ER doctor told her the red dots under her child's eyes could be a sign of strangulation.
Within the first week after everything happened, she started hitting and biting and kicking. Just things that we had never seen.
Prusak says they got their daughter into counseling and she got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome or PTSD. She says her daughter used to wake up screaming.
Those nights were long and hard.
More than a year later, her daughter is still suffering from trauma. Now Prusak wants to warn other parents about unlicensed in-home daycares.
So she had been operating illegally for a long time and I had no idea.
ColoradoShines.org, a website run by the Colorado Department of Early Childhood, lists every cease-and-desist letter from unlicensed in-home daycare providers.
There's not as much oversight on them. So they go off of pretty much parent complaints.
Prusak says you can at least check to see if an unlicensed provider has received a cease and desist letter. As for Grimm, if she doesn't violate her 2-year probation and completes 36 hours of community service, her case will be dismissed.
And then after 2 years, she could go back to providing care to children, and no one would know what happened. That part doesn't feel just. I hope one day the system is better and protects our kids more, but right now it doesn't.
Prusak says a lot of families are pushed into using unlicensed daycare providers because licensed child care centers often have a wait list of 1 to 2 years long and are very expensive. The judge who presided over this case today said in the courtroom that Grimm's actions were, quote, completely reprehensible. Besides community service, Grimm is not allowed to watch children in exchange for money and will have to pay for the Prusak's daughter's counseling and medical bills.
Ooh, tough case, but some lessons to be learned here. When you talk about unlicensed daycares and what parents can do, because it is frustrating if there's a wait list and you need childcare.
Absolutely, and you know, the Prusaks were telling us today sometimes this is the only choice that families have. It's the only thing that they can afford. There are a few things you can do with that Colorado Shines website to see if they've had those cease and desist letters, but that's about all the oversight they have. You can do background checks on your own if you'd like, but yeah, the Prusak family is saying more oversight needs to happen with these unlicensed providers.
It's a hard story to hear, but thanks for sharing it with us. People can pay attention, learn more, and hopefully be prepared. Keep an eye out for things like this.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney.